feel like, hold on one second, because I just want to wipe this off. I think I got some flour on my camera. Ah, okay. Oh, that's much better. Hello. Welcome to Gingerbread class. I know some of you, so welcome. It's nice to see you again. I'm in New Jersey as well. My name is Katie. For those I haven't met before, I'm a pastry chef and I'm a baking instructor here at Michael's. And today we are doing a gingerbread class workshop. Thank you. I love this. I pull this out once a year, mostly for gingerbread house decorating. So thank you for that, Mia. But today we're making little mini gingerbread houses. Which is so nice and kind of fun to do. And I'll show you one that I made it and then my daughter sort of attacked it a little bit. But it's a cute little gingerbread house. You will find the template for these gingerbread houses before we start, just FYI, and maybe Kate can share them as well with you. In the class description, you'll find a template like this that you can print out if you need to. So you could definitely do that as well. If you are baking along, make sure you have that before you start. So you have that template ready to cut out and use. But we are doing these gingerbread houses completely from scratch. We're making the gingerbread ourselves. We're making the royal icing. We're assembling the houses, decorating the houses. And the name of the game today is just to sort of like have fun, relax, enjoy yourself. I feel like the downside to using a kit, gingerbread house kits are so great. And nothing bad to say about kits at all. But you sort of miss out on like the whole point of gingerbread houses, which is it's such an experience to kind of make your own gingerbread house from scratch. So today we're just going to really like lean into it, enjoy ourselves. It's not going to be perfect. They're not going to be super duper fancy or anything like that. This is just like a fun gingerbread house that you can just have in your back pocket for every holiday season, whether you're making them with kids or if you're just decorating it yourself as like a zen little baking time just for you. And this recipe does make two houses. You can divide the recipe in half and just make one house if you want to. It does also make some extra cookies, so you'll have those on the side. You could decorate gingerbread men and Christmas trees and things like that. And it is a gingerbread recipe that you can eat. It is delicious, so that's good as well. I hate those gingerbread houses. They're just like so inedible. This you can actually eat if you want to, so that's the whole point of today. And yes, Joanne, ideally, Kana is going to link that in the chat in the next few minutes. She does have a baby crying, so we'll give her a second to just kind of like get that ready. But also, Kana, when you can, come on down, not to rush you, but come on down to the ingredients when you can, so we can see what we're working with here. Thank you so much. So we do have a few different things. I sort of was joking with Kana before I started today that I feel like I have like a lot going on today. But it's because we are making so many things. So this is the gingerbread section. We've got molasses, so important. It's going to give us that color, that flavor, everything that we need. And Jennifer, no, you do not need a degree in architecture to make these. Absolutely not. So that's like the fun of today. It's just like, let's just all have a nice time and not worry about it. But molasses, I've got some spices here, cinnamon, ginger, whatever you love, since these are edible. Use whatever spices you love, whether you have some actual gingerbread spice, you can find that. Chai spice, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, really anything you love, you can kind of sub in spices there. I've got one large egg. Note that I am having the recipe today. So if you're looking at this and you're like, the recipe calls for 2 eggs, I am having it because I'm only making one house today. All-purpose flour, dark brown sugar. You can also use light brown sugar if that's what you've got. Butter and shortening. And you can use one or the other. So the shortening is to give us some stability. It's going to make the dough a little bit more workable at room temperature. The butter is for flavor. So if you are like a flavor person, just go all butter. That would be fine. If you want to do the duo like I am, do the duo, or you can go all shortening for like the most stable, easy to work with gingerbread. You could definitely do that as well. Salt, baking powder, and baking soda. And it is a very small amount, just for like a very slight lift. We don't want our gingerbread to spread and balloon out as it bakes. We really want it to hold its shape. So if you are looking for a less edible version, you can cut back on this as well for really, really perfect. Oh, the website is down. So the team will be providing her the handout shortly if you see that in the chat. That's going to be there as well. Then for the royal icing, we've got icing sugar, powdered sugar, also called confectioner sugar. I've got cream of tartar. That's going to help stabilize our egg whites. And I am working with pasteurized egg whites. If you're not a fan of that idea, you can also use a royal icing recipe with just meringue powder. You'll also find recipes that just have corn syrup in them and milk. Those are a little less stable than what we need for a gingerbread house, but anything with, whether you go with meringue powder or egg whites is great. That's going to really adhere nicely. And then any decorations you want. So I have some fun sprinkles. I found these today and I thought they were so cute. They're like little gummies in the shape of like trees and snowmen and things like that. I've got some little candies. I've got some sparkling sugar that I thought would be really cute on the snow. And so that's about it. That's what we're working with. Equipment wise, so you do need a rolling pin. Of course, we're going to be rolling out our gingerbread. So a rolling pin, either a stand mixer, a hand mixer. You can even make this dough just by hand in a bowl if you want to. The royal icing, I definitely recommend a stand mixer or hand mixer for that. For the gingerbread, we're going to use a paddle, and for the royal icing, we're going to use a whisk. And then the only other thing I promise is you'll need some piping bags to pipe the royal icing, some spatulas to kind of scrape everything down as we go. And if you want to color your royal icing, I do recommend gel colors for that. It's going to give you the most potent color. With royal icing, if you use liquid coloring, that's fine too. We're just going to adjust how much added liquid we're going to use if that's the case. So gel colors are great for that. And that's it. So I sort of mentioned before, we have our template. So this is our gingerbread house template. And you will notice they're very small because we're making these little petite gingerbread houses. Now, if you really like a big gingerbread house, you can balloon this up as much as you want. This is just kind of a guide, but you could double the size. You could change the printer settings and make this larger, smaller, as much as you want. If you just print this straight from the document that Kana will share, it's going to come out about this size. So put that aside for now. And we are going to start making our gingerbread right off the bat. And I do have some that's already chilling, so we won't have to wait long for it. Now your butter should be at room temperature. And also, if you are baking along, this will post to YouTube in the next couple of days. So if you are baking along with it, make sure you're preheating your oven to 375. So we'll be ready to bake. All right, so I'm going to start by getting my butter and my shortening in my bowl. And as fun as it is to buy the kits, it's amazing how easy it is to make gingerbread. Assembling, I'll give it to you, it's a little bit trickier, but making the gingerbread itself is very, very easy. So I put my brown sugar in the bowl with my butter and my shortening. I'm just going to beat those up until they're nice and smooth. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get my egg and my molasses ready. Now, we don't want to overwork this. If you really whip up the butter, oh, good. I think she just shared it with you guys. If you really whip up your butter and sugar, what happens is you're incorporating a lot of air into the mixture, and that's going to cause your gingerbread pieces to spread a bit more than you want as they bake. So all I'm doing is just bringing them together. Even if there's a little bit around the bowl, just go ahead and scrape it down. Don't worry about it too much. And we're just going to get our molasses right in. This is the good stuff. Pour this right in here. Something about molasses. I just love that smell. It's like the smell of Christmas. All right, so same deal. I'm just going to beat that in. No more than a couple of seconds here. And now I'm going to add my egg. So you can see like how quick this happens here. Into my little side bowl. Right, I'm going to beat that up as well. And you can do this ahead as well. You want to go ahead and prep your gingerbread dough and just have it in the refrigerator rolled out. That way, anyone who's making your gingerbread house with you won't have to worry about this messy part of making the dough. So I'm adding all my dry ingredients: flour, salt, spices, baking powder, baking soda. And all I'm doing is I'm going to beat this to combine, and that's it. Will egg beaters change the texture? For this, if you're using egg beaters, that's fine. That is totally fine. Yeah, as long as you're using it in the same quantity. All right. And you can see I'm not going to overwork this. All I'm going to do is bring it together just until it forms a dough. And this dough is heavy. So if you are working with a hand mixer, you might find yourself working a little bit hard. You can change off and just use a spoon. You can even get in there with a gloved hand. You can see it's a very heavy dough. It's very stiff, and that's what we want. If for any reason your dough does not look like this, feel free to add just an extra sprinkle of flour just to make sure it does, because we do want a pretty stiff dough to work with. Now, because it's so stiff, you might find there's little sticky spots. Just really go in with your spatula and make sure it's all together. Get all of it off the paddle so we don't miss out. And now the easiest way to do this, because we're going to be chilling the pieces, is I like to roll it between parchment paper. Now you don't have to do this. You can just roll it right on the counter. You could just flour your surface. But if you do have parchment paper, it does make it even easier to move around and just transfer straight to the refrigerator. That way you could just roll it out, chill it, and you'll be ready to cut out all your pieces. Now I have the recipe. So if you went full recipe, if you're making 2 houses, this will make 2 sheets of dough. Mine is only going to make 1 sheet of dough. And we're just going to roll this out until it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. You want it a little bit on the thicker side. We have a nice stable house. And it is sticky. So if I get my hands here and I start working with it, I'm going to get all covered in dough, which is fine. What is the name of that paddle? It's a good question. My mixer that I'm working with today, this is my small mixer. It's my Breville. So this is like a Breville paddle, and it has that silicone scraper, which is so great. It kind of cleans it up. But this is a Breville mixer. It's a little different than the KitchenAid, but I think they probably have the same kind of thing. My KitchenAid downstairs only has the metal paddle attachment, but I really like that silicone. Like it does a good job, and it doesn't rub. You know, sometimes they rub against the bowl. That's the worst. With metal on metal. All right, and you could do this anytime you're working with dough. I do this sometimes with pie dough. Rolling on parchment can be like such a game changer. And because we are looking for a rectangle, we're not rolling in all directions. All we're doing is sort of rolling back and forth, one way and then the other way. Keeping an eye on the thickness as you go, trying to keep it nice and even. You can run your hand over it every once in a while, just see where you're at. And teaching. My dog's trying to go outside. So about 1/4 of an inch thick. So a little thicker than you might roll pie dough or cookie dough. Let's see, the beauty of parchment is every once in a while you could just open it up, see where it's at. We're actually looking pretty good. Don't worry if it's not a perfect rectangle, we're just cutting out shapes anyway. So not a big deal. The name of the game today is not perfection. It's just fun. This is like, do this with some Christmas music on. All right, so that's it. So ideally what we want to do is really chill this until it's firm. So that way you're going to get nice clean cuts on your pieces. So that's going to take about ½ an hour in the fridge. You can do it a day ahead if you want to, have it ready to go. And then it's going to look like this. So I would just pop it on a baking sheet, just like this one. And you can see it's nice and firm, easy to handle, good to go. So you see that one just goes away. And now we could take out our template. So before we start working with our template, we kind of want to unstick it from the parchment. So you can see because it's nice and cold, it comes right off. But still, just coat your surface with a little bit of flour. You notice we didn't use flour the first time we rolled. And now you can go ahead, if you're really brave, and you could just flip it over and unstick the other side. This way, when you cut your pieces out, everything is just going to move really easily. It'd be really easy to work with. Now this side, I probably don't want to add as much flour because this is the side that we're probably going to see. Can dust it off. And all I'm going to do is take my template and cut out my pieces. Now you're going to need 2 of each of these. So you're going to need 2 sides, 2 roots, 2 fronts. And a front. And if you want any sort of windows or anything like that, we're going to do that afterwards. Let's see. What are you doing? Okay. All right, now because we're unstuck, we're just going to put this anywhere we like. Go pretty close together because we don't want to have to re-roll this. So I'm actually going to go this way. So let's start with the first one. A nice chef's knife. Go right in. You could flour your knife if you need to along the way. But all you're doing is cutting around your template. Nice and clean. And then moving on to the next one. Perfect. Right, so those are our 2 sides. We're going to move on to our roof. You can also use this dough to make any other little parts, like you can make a chimney if you want to. Little trees for the side of the house, whatever you feel. And our front. Now, if you start to notice your dough is becoming softer and you're worried about it sort of like losing its shape as you transfer, you can just take the whole sheet of parchment and pop it back in the fridge before you start moving these around. Today, we're just going to go with it. Down here. Okay. All right. So you can see I've got a lot left. So theoretically, you could probably make a few more pieces out of this. You could use it for cookies, whatever you feel. I'm just going to get these little scraps out of the way. A little house. And before you start cutting out windows or anything like that, we're going to transfer it to our baking sheet. So you could even use that same parchment paper you had covering it before. And just gently, I'm just going to use a big spatula just to pick up my pieces. And I'm just going to space them out on an empty baking sheet, just like that. But again, if they start moving around, if they're getting too soft or sticky, just pop the whole sheet of parchment back in the fridge. And they'll be really easy to move. Okay. Now, once we've moved them, now is the time we can start to cut things out if we want to, like windows and doors. So let's move this out of the way. We'll save this for cookies. Ooh. So any little cutters you have, you can use a paring knife, or if you have any sort of cute little cutters, like I've got like a little snowflake set. I had like a little round cutter, anything you feel. Just make sure you sort of dust them in flour before you start cutting. You can go ahead and once they're dusted, just go right in and cut out anything you want. So this way we're not moving the pieces around. We're not going to affect the shape at all. They're already set in place. You can even save those little cutouts. Bake them with it. Right. Well, not that one. That didn't work out. Remember, one is going to be the front of the house, one is going to be the back of the house. You can match them, you can make them different. Don't accidentally cut your roofs. Your roofs are your big pieces, so if you're doing windows and things like that, go in your small pieces. And remember, these are mini houses. They are very small. But that's the whole fun, especially if you're like me and you have a young kid. It's nice to give them their very own house. And that way you get to decorate, they get to decorate. There's no fighting over big giant houses. Everybody gets their own. Okay, so these will go in the oven. So these are going to bake just until they're nice and firm and set. As they bake, if you want to, if you notice any of these shapes starting to kind of shrink in, about halfway through baking, come back in with the same cutter, pull them out, give them one more press just to clean up those shapes, and then you'll be ready to take them out. So I think in the recipe it called for about 12 to 15 minutes or so, just until they're nice and set. They should be golden brown around the edges, and I'll show you the ones I've got. And I'm so sorry, Kana, but for some reason, my dog is going absolutely crazy. I'm going to let her outside for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Okay. Cuckoo dog. Go, be free. Go, go, go. Maybe she has to go potty. Okay. All right, so when they come out of the oven, they look like this. Now, if you do want to add any sort of windows like this, in the last couple of minutes, you see, as soon as they're nice and golden brown and firm, you can go ahead and fill these cutouts with little crushed candies. I'm sure you've seen this before, but I just took like a little Jolly Rancher in a packet and just crushed it with a rolling pin, just until it was nice and crushed, just like this. And then just go ahead and fill that space and let it melt in the oven for that extra minute or so. And you've got these little stained glass windows. You could also do this with isomalt, which Michael's of course has, so you can get your isomalt there, or really anything that you love. So you get those little windows nice and shiny and pretty and ready to use, which is so nice. But so before we work with these, we're going to make our royal icing. So I'm going to just put these aside for a second. We'll formulate our ideas for decorations. We're going to make our royal. So I sort of mentioned before, I'm working with raw egg whites. This is up to you. I am using pasteurized egg whites, but if you are not a fan, you can also use meringue powder and water. I'm just cleaning out my mixing bowl here. And this is a large batch. So again, I'm having the recipe that you'll see in your packet because I'm only doing one house. But it does make quite a bit. So I'm going to get my egg whites in my mixer. And instead of the paddle, I'm switching to a whisk to whip these up. And I've also got my cream of tartar. Now that's optional. If you don't have cream of tartar, you don't have to use it, but it does add some stability. It sort of stabilizes the proteins in the egg whites, helps it set up nice and firm. So that's really helpful, especially for something like a gingerbread house. And we're basically looking for it to get to soft peaks. So I'm really going to crank this up a bit, let it go for a second. And in the meantime, I've got my powdered sugar here. Move our house out of the way. Oh, that's a good question, Joan. So, well, that's all. Let's get this to the soft peaks and then I'll get to that one. That's a great question. There we go. All right, so we're sort of frothy. We're not necessarily at soft peaks yet, but we're getting very nice and frothy, which is great. And Joanne asked a great question. So before I worked with my egg whites, especially because I just made gingerbread in this bowl, Now, I cleaned it out with soap and all of that, but just as an extra insurance policy, which we talked about in our meringue class, our French meringue class, I always take a little bit of either lemon juice or vinegar on a paper towel and just give my bowl a wipe. Same if you're reusing the same attachment. Now, of course, I just switched attachments, so I wasn't too worried. But if I was using a whisk that I had used for some other fat-based recipe that had butter in it or oil in it, same thing, just wiping it all down with an acid on a little bit of paper towel just kills off any fat and kind of is an extra insurance that your egg whites are going to whip up properly. And if you've ever whipped egg whites and they just didn't move at all and didn't gain any volume and you were like, what happened? That's one good way of making sure that that won't happen, as well as obviously making sure that you don't have any yolks in your mixture as well. So just a few more seconds. All right, so this is soft cakes. So soft cakes without any sugar in the mixture, it's going to look very frothy and very foamy. And this is what you want. You want it to just have some stability to it before we start adding in our powdered sugar. And we are going to add our powdered sugar slowly because you see it's such a big amount. So I'm just going to get in about a third of it. And we're going to beat that in. That sort of prevents you from getting that sugar cloud everywhere. It also helps it just working evenly. Don't worry too much at this point about the sides of your bowl. We'll scrape down toward the end. Get in that extra third. And if you do want to flavor this, that's totally up to you. If you want to add vanilla, lemon extract, peppermint extract, anything you feel, you can absolutely do that. A little bit of salt to balance the sweetness. Perfect. All right, that's working in. Let's get the rest of it in. And at this point, before we get the rest, I'm going to scrape down. Now, if you are using your royal icing for certain things, like for example, I'm going to build my house with the stiffest consistency of icing, but I'm going to maybe do the decorations with a slightly less stiff consistency. Maybe I want some icing for flooding and things like that. Don't add all of your sugar yet if you don't want to. If you want some of your icing to be a little bit easier to work with, maybe we'll add most of it and we're going to leave some of the sugar aside and we can adjust the consistency rather than having to backtrack and add a little bit of water, you know, and do it that way. Let's just start with less. So let's get that in. Looking good. Let that work for a second or so. And let's check out consistency-wise where we're at. So you can see I've got this sort of pourable consistency. It's thick, but it's pourable. If I lift this up and I let it sort of come off my whisk here, if I can get you a good angle on this. I can't. Kana, at some point we might have to switch to the other camera. We'll switch to the side when you can. Oh, hey. Oh, perfect. All right, now we can adjust. Hold on, let me get you closer. Hello. All right, pretty good. So this is my consistency right now. You can see it kind of falling off the whisk, which is good. If I'm piping designs and things like that, this is pretty comfortable. It's easy to pipe, but it's thick enough that it's going to hold its shape. So this is where I would stop and bag up if I was doing any sort of piping designs. And you can see I have some royal icing that I made earlier. That's that same consistency. I bagged that up and we're going to have that for piping our designs. If you want it thinner for flooding, at this point, you could even take some of the icing out and adjust it with a little bit of water to kind of thin it out a bit for flooding. You could do that as well. But for building the house, we want a really toothpaste-like consistency. And you can imagine this is not going to cut it as toothpaste. So we're going to add a little bit more of the sugar and we're going to work it in. And we do want it really thick, almost like spackle, to hold our house together properly. Well, let's work that in and see where we end up. I'm gonna close the door from my dog while we're waiting. There we go. Okay. Perfect. All right, let's keep that in and see what we've got. We are very, very spackle-like. So check this out. So this is good stuff. Oh, look at this. This is thick. Very toothpastey, very thick. Holds on my finger really nicely. That's what we want for building our house. So this is perfect. So we're going to take this out. We get our mixer out of the way. And steal a taste just for funsies. All right. And we are ready to build our house. So the one thing you don't want to do with royal icing is let it sit in the bowl, especially when it's a texture like this. I'm sort of shaking it off my whisk. Come on up. And we're going to go right into our piping bag. So grab any sort of drinking glass you've got, anything to just hold it steady. I always fold down the top of my bag. Oh yeah, so great question. So Catherine, what do I do if my consistency is thin? If your consistency is still too thin, all you're going to do is adjust with more powdered sugar. You can whip it for a minute or so just to make sure it's really all together. And then of course, to thin it out, you could just add a little bit of water if you need to. And that's an aquafaba. Aquafaba is great. Aquafaba is like sort of a miracle ingredient. I remember the first time someone came up with the idea of using aquafaba to whip up as like meringue cookies and things like that. And for macaroons, people were like a game changer, especially for vegan desserts. But aquafaba is awesome. So feel free to use it. Definitely. All right. So we've got our spackle. We've got some other colors. We've got a house. I think we're ready to do this. What do you guys think? That's fine. All right, so you can see some of my bags here, the ones I pre-made, you can see they're tied. So a good thing to do, especially with something thick like this, I take a little plastic wrap and I tie it around. You could also use a twist tie, a rubber band would be fine. I just always have plastic wrap right here, so it's just easy to grab. I take just a tiny bit, kind of just thin it out like that and just tie it around my bag. And especially if kids are using these bags, you really want to tie them because, oh boy, that'll get everywhere. You'll be cleaning royal icing off your cabinet for many, many days. So it's always good to tie it up. All right. So we are ready. So any sort of surface that you have that you want to build your house on is good. I do like to work on some sort of turntable, just so it's a little bit higher. And I could turn it around, but you don't have to, for sure. But I just have like a board, something fun like that. You could also use a cake board, obviously, or anything that you like for that. And now you can kind of think about how you want to work your design. So if you are a really, intricate, you just love like really beautiful, intricate piping, at this point, I would say before you start building your house, you're going to want to do some of those designs on your flat surface. So let's start by doing some of those. So I've got white, I've got red, I've got a couple of different things. You can work with tips as well if you prefer like a nice small round tip, star tips, round tips, anything that you feel. If you make your royal icing thick enough, you can work with those shapes. But all I'm going to do is cut a very small hole. You can see how small this is. It's just a little guy. And the more fine you cut your hole, kind of the more delicate and intricate your designs will be. So it's always good to sort of just test a line. You can see I've got a little line there that I just tested. It's always hard to know where that is. This little line here, just to see how thick it is. Actually, let's come up on this so you can see. All right. So depending on what you like, and I will do it this way, so I will be upside down, fortunately. But depending on what you like, so I like to start by just sort of like outlining things. So if you've got snowflakes and things like that, and when you're piping with royal icing, you can see that I'm sort of lifting away from the cookie and just letting the royal icing fall. If you try to drag it on the cookie, it becomes harder to control, and you also just don't get as pretty and delicate a line. So I'm going to bring you a little closer here. Oh. So I've got some fun things. Dots are always great in gingerbread houses. So I take a little, I push, and when you get to the end, just sort of scoot off to the side a little bit so you don't get like a Hershey kiss. If you do get little kisses on your royal icing, just wet your finger under running water and you could just press them down. So that'll flatten them out really nicely. And of course, if you're adding any sort of sugar, sanding sugar, any sort of decorations, you're going to want to do that while your icing is wet. So I sort of mentioned we were having fun today. We're just kind of like going with what we feel. You can pre-draw out your design if you like to sort of like plan ahead. But today we're just having fun. We're just having a good time. So some other things you could do, of course, here I've got, this is going to be the front of my house. So I cut out a door, which you don't necessarily have to do. But if you do cut out a door or anything like that, if you want to create windows right next to the door, I'm just letting the royal icing fall from my bag. And take your time. And if you do pipe something and you're like, oh my God, I hate that, just wet your finger or take a little offset spatula, just scrape it right off, wet it a little bit and wipe it right off. It comes right off. You can pipe some little lines for windows. And so I'm doing all of this while it's laying down, just so I have an easier angle to work with here. I'm going to surround my some dots. And after this, we're going to make some shutters and flood them so you could see what that feels like as well. Wow, anybody else in New Jersey, can you hear that wind right now? There's like so much wind. Got like crazy wind. Okay. Oops, sorry, I took one off. There we go. So if I'm making shutters, remember your long pieces are going to be your roof. So don't mess with your roof yet unless you want to. If you want to flood them white or something like that, you can definitely do that. But otherwise, just leave them alone. We'll do that once we start building our house. But if you do want to do any sort of like a window, let's say, with like some shutters, I'm just going to create my window. Just pipe in a square. You could do any other shape you like. And if I'm flooding, so we talked about sort of like flooding consistencies and things like that. So if I'm flooding, I always want to create a border first. So same as my white, I'm just cutting a very small hole on my green, just really, really tiny. And I'm going to create my border first for my shutters. Just making like little green shutters. And if you want to flood them, you're going to let this set for just a minute or so. And then you can cut a larger hole. And if your royal icing is of a thin enough consistency, you can go ahead and flood, or you can thin it slightly with a little bit of water. Or you could do something fun, like maybe I'll do some lines. I've got some red, I've got some green. Maybe we'll do some cute decorative shutters. And I know gingerbread houses are for kids and all, but I have to say that there's something very fun about just getting your own house just to decorate. It could be just like such a fun time. You could put on like a Hallmark Christmas movie and make yourself a nice coffee, a hot chocolate, and just decorate a gingerbread house. It's like so zen. I'm just doing little lines of green and red. Just as something fun, and just go with what you feel. You know, it doesn't need to be, you know, Instagram ready. It could just be fun. Live in the moment, you know. The joy of baking. There we go. So fun. And while we're here, if you want to do any other sort of designs. And then we're going to start building our house with our spackle. All right, so let's start spackling. Enough of that. Put this aside. So if you're using a turntable like this, I just take a wet paper towel and whatever you're using to build your house, this way it's not going to move. It's going to stay exactly where it is, won't go flying off or anything like that. And for our spackle situation, we're going to want to cut somewhat of a larger hole. So any sort of size you think. I would, always err on the side of starting a little bit smaller. You can always cut more, but you never want to have to regret that you cut too much. So I'm probably about 1 centimeter or so. And we're going to start by just getting our house ready. So this is my front door that I've got going on. So I'm going to just give myself a base. I'm just going to pipe just on the bottom. And use any sort of like drinking glass or anything you want just to hold it up. So let me grab, I've got like a small mason jar. That's just going to hold it in place. Now we're going to move on to the side. So let's choose this guy. So same deal. And you can see like the turntable makes it really easy to just turn it around. So same deal right at the base. And this time, because I'm gluing to the front, I'm also going to do the side. It's going to be touching the front. Now we're going to cover all of this with like snow and all that stuff. So don't worry about the icing showing. All I'm doing is sticking these together, and your icing should be thick enough that it's going to hold up pretty nicely. Just make sure it's really nice and straight so you won't have problems later when it comes to adding your roof. And I should mention also, if you take your pieces out of the oven, you're like, oh, one of them really spread. If you've got any little spots that you don't love that are a little bit wonky, just take a vegetable peeler and just scrape it down just a little bit. That's going to flatten them out really nicely. All right, so same deal on the other side. I'm going to just, I just mushed my shutter. Okay, so just on the bottom. And where it's going to touch the house, on the side as well. So I've got my front and my bottom. We're just going to stick those on. Perfect. All right, so we're moving on to the back of the house. So same deal. And if you notice anything moving, or you're like, oh, I don't know, just use a drinking glass just to hold it in place until you feel like it's really secure. And the beauty, I will say, of a mini house is it is much easier to assemble a smaller size house than a larger house. So we'll do the same thing here. Now, instead of gluing on the side, keep in mind these pieces are going to be toward the back. So just on the back here, just to glue my pieces on. Oops. Just give it a push, make sure it's all together. Wipe off your board. Remove your glass. Okay. Ta-da! All right, so part one. Now, before we start adding our roof, the roof is like the scariest part. So we're going to give this a second just to set up. So this is a good time to add other decorations. So for example, I do love, before I get really into the house, to just sort of decorate the bottom a bit. So that could be just adding big swoops of snow going around the bottom. And while I'm piping snow, I do like to pull out my white sanding sugar while it's wet and just give it a little bit of like a snow sparkle, because that could be really cute. And all I'm doing here is just like big swoopy snow blusters, just as like a fun. Don't forget your sparkling sugar. And I also have those really fun trees that I got. At this point, when it's wet, I can pop some of those in there as well. Now, if you are going to be piping decorations, don't cover where you're going to be piping, but otherwise, you can add a little snowman. That's so cute. All right, and I just missed the front, so a little blustery snow. Perfect. So cute. All right, let's get our roof on. So always just give it a check just to make sure you know where you're going. So I'm going to be going here. I've got two sides. So instead of worrying about my roof, because my roof is a little bit bigger than my house, what if it doesn't stay? Yes. Oh, great. Okay, yes. Oh, Catherine, thank you so much. So have I used burnt sugar as glue? Yes, you can definitely do that. Caramelized sugar, even just taking sugar in a pan, just dry, and just slowly melting it down and turning it into caramel. Don't go too far with it. You'll see some chefs like really, it gets to like really, you said burnt sugar. But don't go too dark on your caramel because it sets up so quickly if it's super dark, and you sort of risk burning it. But any sort of caramel, if you want to glue your house pieces together with that, you can absolutely do it. Not something I would recommend if kids are assembling their houses, of course, because caramelized sugar is so incredibly hot, and it does cause such terrible sugar burns. So royal would be better in that case. But if you are assembling the house, any adult, caramel is great, and it sets up instantaneously. So that could be really beneficial. Now, if at this point, like you said, what if it doesn't stay? If at this point anything is moving, let's say your royal icing was like a little loose and it just hasn't set up properly. If you have too much excess, kind of wipe some of it away if you need to, and just let it set at this point. So use a drinking glass if you have to hold it up. Maybe don't do your snow yet if that's the case. Or if you already have, just put your glass on the inside and let your wall sort of lean against it. But at this point, before you add your roof, definitely let it set completely if you are worried about it, just so you're not going to risk it falling apart once the roof goes on. But if you are comfortable, go ahead and glue the top. So you'll notice when I'm gluing, I'm putting a good amount, but you don't want to go overboard. Just a nice layer, like we sort of talked about, it's the consistency of toothpaste. And not to run with that analogy too much, but kind of the amount you would put on your toothbrush is a good amount. And not like a toothbrush commercial where they really like nobody puts that much toothpaste. That's just not a thing. Now I like to do both at once just so I know where I'm going. And if you find one side is more flat than the other, go with the flattest side in the center. And all I'm going to do, oh, don't run away. There we go. All I'm going to do is hold it there for a couple of seconds. I'm not going to move. And it's important when you're adding your gingerbread pieces not to keep adjusting them. The more you're kind of shaking these things around, the less they're staying in place. So just like that. Now, if you look at it and you're like, oh, I see them starting to slide, just keep holding it. Don't go anyplace. This isn't a rush. You could see it's just set like that. Right on the top. And don't worry about like any of these gaps. We're going to fill this all in with snow. But that's it. That's all it is. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and fill with snow. So the first thing I want to do is my top, because we didn't glue these two together. So that's where I want to start. Just by gluing my top. And I have some fun things like gumballs, things like that. I'll bring over all my sprinkles. And after I glue my top, I'm going to go right into icicle territory. But if that's not your jam, you can opt for more fancy decorations. All I'm going to do is just sort of pipe, and this could be whatever you feel, but just kind of like blustery, snowy things right along the top, just to glue my pieces together. Now for icicles, because this is pretty wide, this tip, I have another bag icing. You could transfer some to a smaller bag. You could use this size too, that's fine. But I have sort of a smaller tip-ish, and I'm going to cut. and just add icicles all over the house. So icicles are so fun because all you're doing is piping and just letting the snow kind of naturally fall. And I'm doing this before I add any final piping because you can see like the top of the icicles aren't necessarily like the cleanest. So we're going to cover that up also. But all we're doing is icicling, just piping and letting it fall. Could do long ones, short ones, anything you want. Let's do this side. So fun. I like to do this all down the roof, everywhere. But of course, you don't have to do this. I just think it makes it so cute. Really tell someone's personality from a gingerbread house because you can see like as I'm going, I'm getting less patient. You can just see those lines changing, you know. All right, same deal on my door. I like to add a little bit. Just something fun around the door. And now you could go back with your big one and just pipe any sort of cute designs along just to cover the top of those icicles. All right. So, what should we do on the roof here? Here's where you can play. And it could be as simple as you could add just big blustery snow pieces and do it that way. I do want to add, before I forget, some toppings here. I've got some gumballs, which I thought were super cute. Hello, gumballs. It's a great way to use up extra Halloween candy. That's for sure. All right, if you want to do any sort of, let's see, what about, what are those called? Shingles. Come closer. Okay. So any sort of shingles. So I have like my red tip, for example. I'm just going to lift, and to do a scallop, all I'm doing is lifting and letting it fall. It's really sometimes hard to trust yourself. But as long as you're lifting and letting it fall, you can kind of control where it's ending up. All I'm doing is making those little scallops all the way across. Now I could go in with a different color, like green. And just keep going. You could do the same thing on the other side. You could do something different on the other side, whatever you feel. And at this point, any sort of, decorations you want to add, like for example, while it's still wet, I can add like some gold dragées every once in a while. I could add some colorful M&Ms, some silver dragées. I'm going to sprinkle those on while it's wet. Some of these. Whatever you like. Have fun with it. Is there a tip or trick for using tips? So for a tip, you're going to want a pretty small tip if you're using one. The downside to using tips is you're sort of stuck at one size. For gingerbread houses, like let's say I want to use the same bag for multiple sizes, you could use like a coupler, of course. But if I want to be able to just like cut my bag as I feel, sometimes I just like going without a tip. But there's nothing different about using a tip versus using one without. A tip will give you some extra control, which is nice. I'm just going to dust this with a little snow. A tip gives you some extra control, but otherwise it's the same. You know, you're basically just going to hold it the same way. You're going to pipe the same way. Let your lines fall in the same way. I'm going to actually go upside down and do some of this. And if your icing is thick enough, ideally it's going to stay in place. And shingles this way. Something very fun about piping upside down. Ooh, hello, air pocket. That's kind of fun. Isn't it like a fun little, and you could fill in all those little gaps. Candies. This is so fun. The problem is with this class is I could just like really zen out and forget where I am. We could just hang out. But that's the whole fun. I feel like the whole fun in gingerbread is you could just like forget anything else that's happening. Just really enjoy yourself. But it is fun to kind of dust over. You saw I did this on the other side, but a little bit of powdered sugar just for like a little snowing effect can be kind of fun. So like we have our scalloped side, we've got our snowy side. That's kind of cute. You can get a good angle on it, but you can see like all those little dollops of frosting. It's kind of fun and snowy. And then of course, if you want to add some designs to the front and things like that, I'll lower you down a little bit. Come down with me. So let's say I want to do, and this is why piping on the side can be a little bit trickier because of course our angle really changes, right? When they were flat, it was really easy to just go straight down. On the side, you really have to have a little bit more control. So if I want to pipe something like Christmas lights, I'm sort of pulling away and letting it fall, but I'm going a little bit closer to the house than I would if it was on the table. So I'm just sort of pulling away, letting it fall, but still holding it close enough that I'm controlling where it's going. Some little lights. And again, perfectionism is not the name of the game. The miniature Ashland bistro set would be so cute to this. Oh yeah. Oh, I love those. Oh my God. Every time I go in the store and I see one of those, forget it. I'm like, oh, just buy 100. But you see, one of my lights fell off. All I'm going to do with my finger is just go in and clean it up. You could wet your finger and clean off any of the excess and then just go back and fix it. That's all. You can add any sort of decoration around the sides of the door. You know, we could be here all day. I'm not going to keep you guys. So if you have any requests, let me know. Otherwise, I know we're at the hour. So I'm going to keep decorating and having some fun. But I will say thank you guys so much for joining me for this class. I hope you make cute little gingerbread houses. Definitely, this can sit forever. Once you make this house, you could let it just set at room temperature. It can hang out for the month. It could just chill out. You know, just let it, don't eat it past a week or so. but otherwise enjoy. And thank you guys so much. I hope you come by next week. We have a really cute Christmas tree cupcakes class using ice cream cones. It's so much fun. We're going to be using different tips to pipe the Christmas trees. So definitely come by for that. And thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you for coming. Don't put it in the refrigerator. You don't need to. It could just hang out at room temperature. If you did use egg whites in your frosting and you are nervous about it, you can refrigerate it. You could also put this in your freezer if you want to, but there's really no reason to. But it does stay really well at room temperature. Same with your cookies that you make and decorate. Airtight container at room temperature for about a week or so. Freeze them past that point if you want to. But if you are just using this as decoration, just put it out, let it just hang, and it's a cute little house for your Christmas display. Thank you guys so much. Merry Christmas. Bye.